Here's how you can outwork everyone by being bored. These are the 3 steps I used to outwork everyone, but it all started one day when I was sitting alone, doing nothing, just stuck in my thoughts. That's when I remembered something. When I was 9 years old, I used to play video games on my older brother's phone just for an hour, and that hour was everything. I'd wait all day for it, finish my homework as fast as possible, count down the minutes until I could finally play. But now, it's not just an hour anymore. I'm on my phone for 7 to 8 hours a day, scrolling, watching, clicking, and half the time, I don't even realize it. And I know I'm not the only one. We have all gotten hooked on constant stimulation without realizing what it's doing to us. It's reckoning our focus. But what if I told you the real secret to outwork everyone isn't grinding harder? It's doing the one thing we all avoid: boredom. The problem why we can't focus. Imagine you're sitting in a room, just 4 walls, a chair, and 2 things in front of you. On one side, a book. On the other, your phone. Be honest now. If you are like most people, you don't even think. You just pick up the phone. Obviously, everyone does that. And if you asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have done the same. But today, I'd grab the book. Why? Because I figured out one simple thing. We'll get to that in a second, but first let me explain. It's not your fault because our brain has trained to seek easy dopamine. See, when I was a kid, that 1 hour of gaming felt amazing because it was rare. It was something I had to wait for. But now, stimulation is everywhere. We don't just enjoy entertainment, we need it, and that's a huge problem because every time we reach for our phones, we are training our brains to avoid boredom, and that's why reading, thinking, creating feels impossible. Not because it's hard, but because our brains are addicted to cheap dopamine. This graph explains everything. Imagine this. This is the graph that explains exactly why we can't focus anymore, unlike in our childhood. On the x-axis, there are different times of the day: morning, afternoon, evening, and night. On the y-axis, stimulation levels, how much dopamine our brain is getting. Now check this out. This is what stimulation looked like when we were kids. A few short bursts of entertainment, maybe an hour of gaming, some TV before bed. That's all. But most of the day, we were bored. And these dips were when we were outside, walking in the park, daydreaming, doing nothing. Did you notice something here? Our baseline dopamine levels stayed low most of the time. That means our low baseline made every spike feel exciting. After the spike, we dropped back down, but it felt normal. Now, fast forward to today. This is us now. Wake up, check phone, boom, dopamine hit. Scroll TikTok, boom, dopamine hit. Texting, Netflix, YouTube, gaming, hit after hit, hour after hour. But here's where it gets dangerous. Our baseline has shifted. Because of constant stimulation, our brain's default dopamine baseline is now higher than it used to be. You have raised the bar, but the more you feed it, the worse it gets. Every time the stimulation stops, it crashes. The dopamine levels drop, and because our baseline is unnaturally high, you feel worse than before. That's why we can't sit still. You feel drained, restless, anxious. Your brain's always expecting another hit. And the second you don't get it, it panics. This constant spike crash cycle is frying your focus and killing your work ethic. And that's exactly what I went through for 5 years. Was gone. It felt like all the fun, the excitement, even life itself was gone. I tried every video, every hack, every trick, and they all said cut distractions tomorrow. But you and I both know that never works. You can't just flip a switch and quit every dopamine hit. That's not how it works. So I knew I had to take full control of my dopamine system. The first thing I did, I sat down and wrote out the 5 most stimulating things I was doing every single day. Scrolling, fapping, playing video games, watching Netflix, eating junk food. Once I wrote them down all on a paper, it was clear. These were the things frying my focus, keeping my dopamine levels short. I knew I had to cut them down, not all at once, but gradually. So I started small. I looked at scrolling first because I'd waste 5 to 6 hours a day just doing that. So I cut the time by 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. And honestly, it was pretty damn easy. So I started applying that method to all the other things I'd written down. As I was cutting back, I realized I couldn't just leave empty time. I had to adapt. I need to find things that weren't frying my brain but that I still actually enjoy. So I went on a little quest. I was already deep into my self-improvement journey. So I leaned into one thing that I actually liked, working out, but I wanted something else, something to replace the mindless scrolling. That's when I decided to give reading a shot. I'm not gonna lie, at first it felt boring as hell, but I stuck with it. I started reading The Way of a Superior Man, and by the time I hit page 3, something shifted. I actually started enjoying it. If that book doesn't click for you, try another one, maybe Meditations. There are plenty out there. If you want more recommendations, drop a comment, I'll reply. Whenever I had the urge to scroll or binge watch or whatever, I stopped. I forced myself to sit in the boredom, let my mind wander. And in that moment, when your mind's restless, hungry, craving something, anything that's better than sitting in a place, getting bored, and that's when I'd hand myself the book. I would let my brain grab onto that instead. As I kept going, I pushed myself further. First, I'd read for 10 minutes, then 15, then 20, slowly building it up. And you can't build it up like first day 10 minutes, second day 15 minutes, third day 20 minutes. You have to give yourself time. You have to do it 10 minutes for 10 days, then 15 minutes for 15 days. You can do something like that. That's how I broke the loop, by letting boredom work on me, not against me. And this is how you can outwork everyone, not by grinding harder, but by resetting your brain and making boredom your superpower. But here's something I didn't tell you earlier in this video. If you don't fix this, you'll stay lazy no matter how hard you try. Not by just step, but by using my practical step-to-step guide that actually worked for me. So if you're lazy but ambitious, click on this next video.